All right, welcome back, guys. So, two chapters of One Piece are out, and it's kind of crazy how much development has happened in those two chapters. We've seen some really interesting things come into place, and some things that have actually given me some hope about One Piece as the story, what I think the story should be about. And this is great to see because a lot of the Straw Hats are getting power ups in this arc. Usopp's not so much so far, but some of the others have gotten some significant enough scenes, although nothing close to what I'm expecting. But I am very glad that I waited for this long because we've got a couple of good, interesting points that have come up in One Piece 1175 and 1176 that could turn the tide of the battle that's happening in Elbaf. So we're gonna start with covering both of them. This is just gonna be the one time that I covered two chapters at the same time. And I'm actually really happy to have to cover both chapters at the same time because a lot has happened over here, and there's a lot to talk about. Um, so we first of all, I'm going to talk about 1175, and then we'll switch to 1176. So 1175 starts with basically Sanji freeing, um, all the Straw Hats from the vines, which, to be honest, given that they were wines, the Straw Hats react in a way that fire was the weakness to them, right? Like it was weak to fire. But his ability was wines. So I don't understand like why no one thought about using fire. Like they act like maybe they thought of using fire, maybe it's hockey imbued fire. I don't know. But it seems like that was the first thing you go up to. Like that's literally the first idea. If it's a plant kind of thing, you just choose to burn it, right? And I can't believe like they reacted like, oh my god, oh it's weak to high temperatures. Oh, I thanks for the information, Sanji. Yeah, they're vines. Have you not interacted with plants before? But anyway, um, we start with that, and we finally get the Straw Hats out basically, and immediately we kind of go and see that everything's kind of like a mess right now. Basically, the Loki and Luffy have come up to the higher levels with the other kids, and they're kind of safe at the moment. But obviously the Vine guy, of course, I keep forgetting his name. Anyway, the Vine guy basically wants to still kill them, but he's kind of conflicted. He doesn't know what he's doing. He's like so dumb, right? Because he flip flops throughout the entire thing, right? First he's like, oh, I'm so glad that you guys survived because now I can complete the mission. And then, as soon as the kids try to protect their parents, so he's basically attacking the parents. He wants to get rid of the parents, but as soon as the kids kind of like blocked his way, and as soon as the kids block his way, he's like, "Oh, you know what? I don't care about the mission anymore. Let me just kill you guys right now." And it's such a weird transition over here. Like he doesn't know what to do in this situation. He absolutely has no idea. And we finally find out that it is basically the Loki's devil fruit is basically the serpent. Basically, it's meant to be the serpent in Norse mythology, Nidhogg. Now, I've completely forgotten Nidhogg's name before, but I'm so glad that they kept this because it is very interesting to see. Unfortunately, as far as I remember, Nidhogg was not a dragon in Norse mythology, it was a snake, but I guess they turned it into a dragon over here. Now, in terms of this devil fruit that Loki has, there's a lot of interesting things that have been revealed about this. Apparently, this fruit was kept in Elbaf and was protected by the hammer. Now, Nidhogg's previous owner or the power holder, because there's an interesting theory about devil fruits. I don't know if like it's pretty much an abundant theory, but I believe like devil fruits aren't really devil fruits, especially zone types. They're basically powers that existed long ago transferred into fruits and passed down through generations. So that's basically it. I'll go into a little deeper about it in maybe another video, but it's basically that's what I think. So I'm guessing Nidhogg's previous power holder and Ratatoskr, which was Ragnir. That's literally the name that we use for this. So apparently Ratatoskr and Nidhogg's first owner went up against the sun god. And they basically had a fight. We don't know what for, but it is interesting to see because if they were aligned against each other in the beginning, I'm wondering what happened to change all that, or if this is a change in the storyline from before. Um, Anyway, so after Nidhogg's battle with the sun god, apparently Ratatoskr chose, uh, came into acquisition of Ragnir and kind of like fused with it to become the protector of Nidhogg's devil fruit. Which again shows me that it's not really, devil fruits are not really, they're not the source of the power, they're container for the power. It's hard to say what I mean. But basically, I think that these powers, like Luffy Sun God ability, um, Nidhogg, all of these existed as they were kind of like a built up power by someone or something in the past, and they didn't want to lose that power, so they kind of like amalgamated it into something and put it inside a fruit to make it pass down through the generations, basically, so that the power is not lost. Which is a very interesting thing because that would explain Emu's entire thing. Because I don't think Emu is a devil fruit eater. If he is, then he's very early on a devil fruit eater. But I think Emu is one of those creatures or those beings in the past who basically had the power but never died. It's similar to like the elders as well. Like I don't think their powers come from devil fruits. They come from like contracts that are created and powers that Emu holds. Maybe he found a different way to impart that power aside from devil fruits. But that's a different story in general. All right. So basically, with Nidhogg, we also kind of see that we learn that Nidhogg's devil fruit is primarily dependent on who eats it. And that kind of creates a good, interesting reason for the giant's cultural significance and cultural impacts that Nidhogg's ability might have on the giant's culture. This is primarily because we learn that Nidhogg's ability scales with the size of a person. So if whoever eats Nidhogg can grow to be a dragon, but the size of the dragon is relative to how big you are. So a giant eating Nidhogg's fruit would be much, when they transform, would be much more bigger than a human eating Nidhogg's fruit. And as we know that the true giants or the elder giants or whatever you call them, like I forgot the name, ancient giants, right? Ancient giants, since they are bigger themselves, like if you compare Loki's size to Hyrule, it's basically like Doflamingo to Luffy, um, in terms of a giant, um, and that affects how big Nidhogg's size will be. So if an ancient giant eats it, he would be much bigger. And apparently Nidhogg has ability, it's a dragon type fruit, but it has the ability to fire electricity. Honestly, love the design. I would love to see, okay, I'm going on a tangent here, but Nidhogg's design is really good. Alright? I would have loved to see a little bit more detail on Nidhogg, but Oda really doesn't put much details up to a certain point, and Nidhogg is supposed to be jet black, so I guess that he's not going to be putting much detail on this. But anyway, we kind of see that yeah, because of the size difference of Nidhogg, I can see the cultural impacts that the giants would have, especially given the fact that it's a dragon type fruit and its basic ability is violence, so it has to be, the way it exerts its power is through violence. So I understand now why the ancient giants are preferred. It's not only just because they're warpath oriented. I'm pretty sure like the early giants made it so that Nidhogg was in the back of the mind when they promoted ancient giants because they knew ancient giants were bigger. Therefore, anyone who eventually let eventually if Ragnir let anyone eat the Nidhogg fruit, then it had to be an ancient giant, and that's why they were preferred to be the royals of the culture. And especially given the fact that it's capable of such violence, the emphasis on violence in the giants culture also makes very much sense on this part. Um, but anyway, we kind of see all this say about Nidhogg, and then we kind of come to where the guy's about to kill the kids, cause he doesn't care anymore, and at this point we kind of see Zoro step in, and we see Luffy in his giant form also step in to knock the guy out, which clears all the spines from everyone else, which is great to see. So we have one celestial dragon somewhat out of count, or God Knight somewhat out of count. Anyway, we kind of because of the hockey that radiates from this, especially after Nidhogg also hits. So Loki also basically fires basically kind of like a huge, I guess a roar or like a breath attack. Um, he feels the hockey. So Imu in Gonko's body feels the hockey, and he finally understands that Nidhogg is there. And this is very interesting because I think Imu had a suspicion that Nidhogg was always there in Elbaf, and that's primarily why he wanted to control Harold. But like the fact that he takes note of this, that Nidhogg was here all along. He basically says that he senses the hockey, and he's like, Nidhogg was here all along. And the fact that he says that shows how important Nidhogg was as a piece in the puzzle for world domination was for them. And it is interesting to see like what he was trying to do, because Nidhogg could be still hiding a couple things, or it could be something on the lines of Pluton or one of the major weapons that could cause some destruction, which does point to a very interesting thing that could have happened, where Harold talked to the King Neptune, where he wanted Shirahoshi and Loki to get together as royals. And that would be a really good power couple if they could, because one is literally Poseidon, and one possesses Nidhogg now. So that would be very interesting to see happen. All right, so that's end of 1175. Now 1176 is where we're going to be talking about it a lot more. So the reason we're going to talk about 1176 more is because of some of the crazy things that have been happening over here. So 1176 shows a little bit of bright spots in terms of Franky, one of my favorite characters and the character that I've wanted to see some growth for in a while. Um, Now it starts with basically Vegapunk going around and trying to open a couple things. The flames are still going, and she basically Lilith basically opens up Vegapunk's storage container, and removes these things called Omni Drain converters. Basically, they seem to be some sort of energy converters that turn things into different things. And I am so glad to see Franky get some good representation in the chapter, because I have for the longest while wanted Brooke and Franky to get some recognition. Franky especially, because he literally gets overlooked so much. I feel so bad for him, because he's one of, like, in terms of engineer wise, he is in the One Piece world, he is probably second only to Vegapunk. Don't get me wrong, like, there are really good engineers out there in terms of science, but in terms of engineering only, he is probably second only to Vegapunk, because he's got Vegapunk's knowledge from the time skip, and his what he is able to achieve with just using cola, which Lilith actually says in this chapter, is insane. Like she literally says that his body is just a step, literally a step down, or even comparable to Pacifista's. So that's just insane for me to hear. Like we already knew that, we already thought that Frankie could go up easily against Pacifistas, but for Lilith, the creator, one of the creators of the Pacifistas, to say that is definitely great. So Lilith basically takes out these Omni Drain converters. They're energy converters, basically turns energy into different forms, or like contains energy or transfers energy. I think it's mostly transfers energy because they're converters, right? Um, and basically the library is burning, so Nami goes to work with Zeus to put out the fires, but the Dream Guy, I'm starting to hate Dream Guy as well now, because he's got a very elitist mindset. The Dream Guy basically chomps up Zeus before he can put out the fires on the library. Um, and he starts making some really elitist things, especially to Jinbei, man. That was fucked up. After Fishman Island, the kind of things that, after seeing like all the tragedy the fishermen have to go through in Fishman Island, and then this bastard comes and says something like that, it just pissed me off. Like, you know, he literally says, like, he literally tells Jinbei that, oh, that's a fish man, that one of the most disgusting creatures in the world. I'm glad I bought my mask. And I'm like, you piece of shit. And here, my man Sanji literally took the words out of my mouth. Like, you must be so in touch that, so out of touch that you don't even know one of the one of the warlords of the world, right? So fuck off. And we kind of see that. So basically, this guy uses one of the dream dragons to eat up Zeus, to stop him from watering the fire. Which honestly, I don't know if it's the best thing to do, but I guess it's a normal fire. It's not an electrical fire. But um, our concepts obviously don't work on them. But anyway, and then we basically go and see that the Omnidrain converters are the ones that basically go and freeze this. So basically, they're just they convert the thermal energy of the fires into different form of energy. What different form of energy? Well, that's where where we come to our boy Frankie. Now, once they convert the energy, we'll come to that a bit later. So once they convert the energy, it basically freezes it. Basically, although yeah, I guess it would, because there was enough. If there was enough water or water vapor, it might freeze it. So basically, it freezes the libraries and all, which could cause damage, but not as much as fire. Um, and at this point, Vegapunk Lilith basically says all the things that I told you guys literally about Frankie right now, and she basically converts the energy to like a super cola or hyper cola. I'm not sure what the name was for it, and it basically gives a power boost to Frankie, which I have been so interested. Like, this is not the best way to portray Frankie, honestly. Like in a fight, I would say Frankie's skills really shine when it comes to like upgrades or any form of mechanical changes, you know, like he's not even though he is a fighter, he is not a fighter. He's not like Zoro or Sanji. His skills would be very much better used in like building things. That's because that's what Frankie is. No matter what happens, Frankie is a builder. He's not a fighter. Um, although he can fight. But anyway, we see that our boy Frankie gets a power boost and basically socks the dream monster that they get, and Jinbei also helps in that situation. So finally being able to free Zeus over there, and we see Sanji take out the dream guy. Now I think right after that, the dream monsters do get destroyed. only one of the I'm not sure if all the Dream Monster guys survived, but like that kick from Sanji should have hurt. So I'm guessing it's either Sanji. We're gonna see a Sanji battle over there, or the Dream guys out of commission and the monsters are gone. We then focus to a second thing. Now, this answers a very big part of Elbaf's, the war that's happening in Elbaf right now. And it also shows a weakness to um, Emu's ability. It's not a weakness, rather, because you do have to do something horrible for this. But it definitely a good chance and something that points to some level of thing with freaking rocks, right? But I don't think there've been a lot of suspicions with rocks regarding what we learned about 1176, learned about Imu's abilities in 1176, but I still don't think rocks is alive. All right, I mean he's probably not alive right now anyway. But after the entire thing in God Valley, I don't think Rock survived that. I'll come to that later. So we come to the fight with Dory and Brogy, and they basically found a way to resist Emu's control, and they can't fathom that they kind of insulted Elder Ja Rule as much. So to stop themselves from hurting anybody else or like speaking insults towards Elder Ja Rule, they basically go and cut their heads off. And this is One Piece, so we didn't really think that they were gonna die. Uh, which kind of like, so when you know a character is not gonna die, you kind of lose that intensity. Like that like if someone were to die in Attack on Titan, you're like, oh my god, that guy's dead. And then maybe later on you'd be like, oh my god, that's alive. But when someone cuts off their heads over here, you know that's not gonna kill the character unless like it's like an ace level situation. Um where you know that this is real. But in this situation it was just too quick, so I'm pretty sure no one thought the Jordan Burger were gonna die. So after they cut off their heads, we find out that the only way to get rid of Domi Reversi is to literally kill the person. So you kill that avatar. So even after cutting off your head, you just turn back to the way you were. So it's kind of like a mask that they're wearing, which is basically their entire body. And you basically cut out the head of the mask or like kill the mask, and you are back to normal. Which is what has led to a lot of suspicion that rocks did survive in God Valley. Now, I do not think so because when I first read the chapter, I actually thought that this was the case, but I do not think so because actually I read the chapter again, and definitely rocks did not survive. Anyway, so this leads them to believe that now they know how to get rid of Domiverse, so let's fight. And honestly, I don't think that they're gonna have much of a problem. Zoro is not one for killing usually. He only kills like one or two people well, he does kill a lot of people, I'm pretty sure. It's just not shown. And I think as long as Zoro is there with them, I don't think they're gonna have any issues with the giant pirates, no matter how strong they are. If Dory and Brogy could not stop them, stop Zoro, none of them can. All right, I'm just saying it outright. Okay, so the thing with rocks. The reason I think that Rocks is still not alive and or did not survive God Valley is because we actually did see Rocks liberated from Dami University. So the attack that Corp and Roger had on Rocks, basically I think was a killing blow, and it took out the effects of Dami University. If you go back to the chapter where he actually where basically Rocks and Roger's fight ends, like right before Roger and Garp are being taken away, we kind of see that Rox is like, I finally got back into my senses. I can actually feel my control coming over. And at the same, but he was so weak that he could not move. And we see that the God Knights literally come in and kill Rox at that same point. So I'm pretty sure the God Knights know exactly what happens when Emu's Domiverse changes, right? Like how the Domiverse ends. So I'm pretty sure they would, even though they're the worst fighters I've seen, because Rox literally could take them out by himself. They would have known to finish Rox off at that point, especially because he was such a big part of the Davy clan, and he openly led a rebellion in the world against them. His closeness to the Giants, it's a lot of things that basically would not allow the God Knights to keep him alive. If they did keep him alive, it would probably be um it would probably be in Marjorie locked under chains and stuff, or like some level of fucked up things that they can do. But yeah, I don't think Rox is alive. Although that did make, like, right now, I'm thinking that maybe they're being more scummy than they need to be and keeping Rox alive like that. But honestly, I don't think Rox is alive. If he is, then I honestly don't know. I'm starting to doubt myself at the moment. Like literally 5 seconds ago, I thought that Rox was not alive, but you'd never put it against the Celestial Dragons to do something more scummy, and it could explain Teach's behavior. Maybe he's trying to save his dad or something on the lines of that. I don't know. Personally, I'm gonna say I personally think that Rox is not alive because I don't want the man to go through any more hell than he already has. He almost lost it. He was almost about to kill his wife and kid. He lost his friend. His crew literally abandoned him. I mean, say what you will about Whitebeard and everything. In the end, the only two people who literally stood with Rox was Carp and Roger. All right, even Whitebeard fled. Like I expected him to stay for a little bit longer, or like at least be on the island to beat Rox. Because honestly, Whitebeard had enough power to do that. But even he chose to leave, and it was so sad to see because this man, dude, he literally would rip the world apart if one of his crew went missing, all right? And he didn't have a single person other than Garp and Roger by his side. And I really don't want him to suffer anymore. So I'm gonna assume Rox is dead. Because I don't want the guy to suffer anymore. But that's about it. That's two chapters, 1175, 1176. It's crazy the amount of shit that's happened over here. Brooke's arc is still something that we need to see with the entire princess. Forgot the princess name, but I would love to see what happened in Brooke's Kingdom. I would love to see Frankie being utilized more like this. Honestly, like Frankie has to, like, come on, man. Like he's such a good character. You can do so much with him. Um and Usopp, my god, dude, if he doesn't get one single growth or like a cool epic side arc for him, oh my god, it's almost ending. Elbaf is almost ending. Where is Usopp? Like where? Anyway, that's about it from me, guys. I hope you guys liked the video. If you did, consider leaving a like down below and subscribing to the channel. I've been Korogami. I'll see you guys in the next one.